I used to think audio was the most honest medium. No filters, no edits, no hiding behind beauty lights or Facetune or wait, let me take another one. Just your voice, hanging in the air, saying what you say. Then I started editing for my wife. And I learned something important. You can lie with a laugh. Her podcast was supposed to be a side hustle. Something creative to balance out the emails and invoices and spreadsheets that bled our weekdays dry. At least that's how she pitched it. A space for women to be real, she said. Raw conversations. Unfiltered intimacy. Yeah, except it turns out raw means you just don't hear the part she scrubs clean after recording. I'm Noah, by the way, freelance audio engineer. Used to work agency side until I realized most clients want you to pretend their feedback is brilliant and their podcasts don't sound like hostage tapes. Now I cherry pick clients. Except one. Her. Claire. My wife. Trendy. Marketable. Like if a Pinterest board fell in love with a ring light. She had it, whatever it is. The smile. The voice. The way she said, "Hey friends, welcome back," like she actually meant it. So of course, when she said she needed an editor, she didn't post a job listing. She turned to me. "Who else would I trust with my voice?" she said. Turns out, quite a few people. At first, editing her episodes was easy. Hour-long Zooms with wellness coaches, startup founders, clean beauty influencers. All chirpy and over-rehearsed. I'd cut out their EQ the mics, smooth out the glitchy Zoom lags. Nothing personal, just polish. But about 6 months ago, she started booking this new guest on repeat. A guy. No problem with that. We weren't that kind of couple. Except, he wasn't just a guy. He was that guy. You know the type. The voice like warm bourbon. The "I'm spiritual, but I box" aesthetic. Wrote a book about reclaiming male softness, or something equally crafted to make women believe he reads Rilke in the shower. Name's Julian. He was charming, sure. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was how Claire sounded around him. Softer. Slower. Like her entire cadence dropped 10 degrees. She'd laugh at his jokes, even the ones that weren't funny. Then, and this was the kicker, she'd edit out every third laugh. Consistently. I checked the timeline across 5 episodes. Same pattern. A laugh here, a snip there. She was trimming the flirt out of the final cut. But not for me. Not for her audience. For him. I know because the original WAV files don't lie. They sit there, untouched, before her pass. And I started watching. Not just editing, analyzing. She'd stammer around him. Claire never stammered. She'd let him interrupt. She hated interruptions. And once, in a raw file from a casual Friday Q&A, she accidentally called him babe. Not even joking. Mid-laugh, offhand. "Oh my God, babe, right?" She caught herself, covered with a fake cough, then clipped it in post. But I saved it. That night, I stared at the screen for 2 straight hours, just scrolling through waveform after waveform, zooming in on every giggle, every totally, every tone shift. And for the first time in our 7-year marriage, I didn't recognize her voice. Not the sound, the shape, how it bent, how it changed, how it wasn't mine anymore. But I didn't say anything. Yet, because I had the raw files. And I was an editor. And editors, unlike hosts, don't speak first. We let the tape play. You ever hear someone fall in love by accident? It's subtle, not the words. Those stay professional, safe, branded. But the tone? That's where the truth leaks out. It started in the raw takes. I'd be in my office, soundproofed, screens glowing at 2 a.m., trimming breaths and EQing levels. And then I'd hear her say something like, "That's actually so beautiful, Julian." That pause. That breathy, careful pause right before his name. Like she'd unwrapped it slowly in her mouth before she said it. And Julian? He'd hum. That low, smirking hum men make when they know they've been given a green light. He was good. I'll give him that. Professional flirters usually are. Especially the ones who make a living selling vulnerability. Now, this was all subtle, mind you. No heavy panting, no explicit slips. Just a woman with a podcast, sounding like she wished it wasn't being recorded. And me? I didn't yell. Didn't accuse. Didn't even blink. I created a new folder on my drive/podcast/bloopers/ClaireWAVS/. Started collecting moments. Some people keep voicemails. Others read texts. I had audio. Crisp, high-fidelity proof. Because once you know what to listen for, it's everywhere. Little things. Like how she only interrupted him to say, "Wait, wait, wait," followed by a giggle. She never did that with other guests. With them, she'd bulldoze over nonsense. Cut to commercial. Keep the energy tight. But with Julian, she let him ramble. She curled up in his pauses. And the edit trail was just as loud. I opened one of her Final Cut profiles. It had a custom tag, softcut_J, with timestamped notes like too flirty, trim back, and delete extra laugh after compliment. She was coaching her own tone out of the final product, like a guilty woman cropping herself out of a photo. But guilt is loud when you know the right software. So I kept pulling the string. One night, around 3:12 a.m., I found a take from 2 months ago she'd titled Miscellaneous, not for EP. I clicked. No music, just raw tape. Julian's voice came in first, a little breathy. You know, if this weren't being recorded, I'd say something much riskier. Claire laughed. Nervous. Whispered, say it anyway. Then dead silence. She forgot to hit stop. Or maybe she didn't. What followed was 36 seconds of awkward pauses, one short moan, and Claire's voice, soft as a prayer, sang. Let's not talk about this here. Not on mic. Click. Then the episode begins. Business as usual. No timestamp. No intro cue. But I had it. Now, here's where most men spiral. They scream. They confront. They torch everything in a fit of righteous rage. But me? I'm a sound engineer. I believe in balance. Pacing. Controlled frequency curves. So instead of throwing a scene, I threw myself into post-production. I opened Audition. Created a new project. Claire_final_mixed_daycut.wave. And started stitching. Clip by clip. I made a greatest hits reel. 34 minutes of flirt. Giggly gasps. Soft MMMs. Inside jokes repeated across episodes. And that babe moment. Clean. High gain. No filters. A closing track with her, let's not talk about this line. But this wasn't just for me. See, Claire's birthday was coming up. She wanted to do a live Q&A episode to celebrate with fans. Big live stream. All her followers. Some sponsors. Her usual editor friends from the wellness circuit. Probably Julian, too. Will you help produce it? She asked, one night in bed. I smiled. Of course. I offered to handle the tech. Stream management. Audio output. The works. You're the best, she said, curling into me like nothing was wrong. And for once, I didn't feel a thing. Not love. Not hate. Just rhythm. We were almost at the drop. There's a type of silence only editors know. Not the kind you get in a quiet room. Not even the kind that hits during a long drive home after a fight. No, I mean the kind that lives inside the waveform. That heavy, pregnant pause between breaths. The static hum between spoken truths. It's the space where the mask slips. And Claire? She gave me hours of it. In the 3 weeks leading up to her birthday, I became a machine. By day, I smiled through our shared mornings like a man sleepwalking through a marriage. Made the coffee, kissed her forehead, said things like, big day coming up, huh? With just enough warmth to keep her radar off. By night, I built her downfall in Adobe Audition. I treated it like a real client project. Named everything properly. Backed up every file. Even color-coded the timeline. Green for intros. Blue for guest segments. Yellow for Claire laughs too much. Red for nuclear. The babe moment was red. So was the 36-second unscripted confession. But my personal favorite was a line from Julian, delivered during an off-mic moment she forgot to delete, where he says, "You always sound hotter when you forget people are listening." Gross. Perfect. Now here's where things got interesting. Claire had built her brand on radical honesty and feminine intuition. So her audience? They worshipped her authenticity. Loved when she got emotional. Ate it up when she said things like, "I want you to hear the real me." Which gave me an idea. I pitched the birthday Q&A as Real Claire, unfiltered. Told her we'd skip the post-edit. Stream it live. No safety net. People love you most when you're vulnerable, I said. She lit up like I'd handed her a second wedding ring. Oh my God, babe. Yes, that's perfect. Funny choice of words. Now, live streams are tricky. Most podcasters pre-record. Safe. Clean. Manageable. But Claire? She was hungry. Sponsors were circling. A few DDC wellness brands were already flirting with exclusive deals. One of them even sent a box of branded rosehip facial mist and a handwritten note. So inspired by your rawness. Let's collaborate soon. And nothing says raw like a live stream gone wrong. The day of the stream, Claire spent the morning rehearsing soft answers to fake questions. Stuff like, how do you stay grounded? Or what's your self-care routine? Meanwhile, I queued up the real show. I uploaded my custom reel to the backend, masked as a camera input. Set the stream delay to 5 seconds. Just enough lag for smooth transitions, not enough for her to pull the plug. Then, I added one final touch. A thumbnail overlay. Party popper Claire unfiltered, birthday Q&A. Soft pink text. Her signature font. Her favorite selfie. The room was candlelit. We had string lights above the backdrop. She looked perfect. Hair curled, off-the-shoulder sweater. That smile people called approachable elegance. I counted us down. 3, 2, and we're live. She waved. Hi, friends. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here. I let her ramble for 90 seconds. Set the stage. Then, mid-sentence, I cut her mic and cued the reel. At first, the viewers probably thought it was intentional. A quirky intro? Some fans dropped fire emojis. Then the tone changed, because what followed was 34 minutes of curated chaos. Clip after clip. Laughter spliced like confetti. That warm, breathy MMM she reserved only for Julian. Audio filters stripped away, nothing but her raw voice. And of course, the piece de resistance. Julian. If this weren't being recorded, I'd say something much riskier. Claire, laughing, say it anyway. Then silence. Then, let's not talk about this here. Not on mic. The chat exploded. At first it was confusion, then disbelief, then rage. Speech balloon, wait, is this real? Speech balloon, why would she post this? Speech balloon, is that Julian? Speech balloon, I knew it. Speech balloon, I feel so betrayed. What a hypocrite. Speech balloon, unsubscribed. Then the sponsors chimed in. Somebody from VitaGlow commented, we do not condone this behavior and are ending our partnership immediately. That's when Claire turned. She looked at the screen, saw the video playing, saw her own voice, her true voice, unraveling in high-definition stereo. She looked at me. I didn't speak, didn't move, just tapped my ear like a producer monitoring levels. She lunged for the laptop. I stepped in front of it. Happy birthday, I said, and clicked end stream. She was frozen. Tears welled up, but didn't fall. Not yet. Behind her, the screen faded to black. The final frame stuck just long enough to show Julian's face in a paused Zoom call. I walked out. Not a word. Left her sitting there, lit by ring-like glow, surrounded by candles and crushed sponsorship dreams. You'd think that was the end, but we weren't done yet, because I still had one last RSVP to handle, and it belonged to my sister. I didn't sleep that night. Not from guilt, no. That ship sailed around the time I labeled the Babe audio file as exhibit_C at MP3. It was the adrenaline, the cold kind, the kind that sharpens your thoughts and makes every digital sound, a Slack ping, a dropped AirPod, a late-night email, feel like an incoming missile. I laid on the couch while Claire sobbed in our guest bathroom. Not the master one. She couldn't look at herself in the mirror there. Too many memories. Too many skincare products mocking her with words like transparency and honesty. At around 3 a.m., I opened Facebook Messenger and typed 4 words. We need to talk. Sent it to my sister. Maya's the type who doesn't check her phone during the night. But at 6:42 a.m., I got the reply. Oh God. What happened? I sent her the link to the stream archive. Waited. Nothing. At 7:01 a.m., the typing dots showed up. Then stopped. Then started again. Then came one single message. That's Julian? Yes, Julian. The man I'd seen at our Thanksgiving table 3 months ago. The one who asked our kid if he wanted to learn to skateboard. The one who brought Claire a bottle of wine labeled for off-the-record nights. Julian. Podcast guest number 6. Former assistant producer. Maya's husband. The man who, until that day, had been a background character in both of our lives. Now, he was the headline. Claire's stream had gone semi-viral. Not TikTok level, but enough to hit cringe podcast moments on Reddit and pull a few reaction videos from commentary YouTubers with names like SpillTH3T and KarmaCast. And those videos? Maya saw them too. She was livid. I mean nuclear. The kind of anger that makes you remember your worst fights with someone and realize they were never really over. She was already separated from Julian for space, but now she had evidence. Now she had motive. Now she had teeth. At 9:15 a.m. she called me. You still have the raw files? All of them. I want them. Maya, I'm going to court. You in or out? Silence. Then I said it. I'm in. You see, revenge, real revenge, isn't about the first punch. It's about follow-through. It's not the slap. It's the lawsuit. Not the scream, the subpoena. And Maya? She'd just turned the whole thing into a legal firestorm. By noon, Claire's PR rep had issued a public apology. Classic Notes app format. White background, centered text. I was unfaithful to my values. Blah, blah, blah. I let my audience down. Save it. I need time to heal and reflect. They always say that when they've been exposed. Meanwhile, Julian vanished. Pulled his social media. Canceled meetings. Didn't show up for his new consulting gig at some indie media studio in Austin. Word was, he fled the state. Maya filed a restraining order, just in case. But here's the kicker. Claire tried to pivot. Tried to reclaim the narrative. She scheduled a second stream. A healing space where fans could come together and process betrayal as a collective. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my coffee. She wasn't just trying to save face. She was trying to monetize the fallout. But that's where she really screwed up. Because in that second stream, she said something that violated her NDA with a major sponsor. Something about how their collagen product never actually worked for me, but I said it did because, well, capitalism. Boom. Her last paycheck? Gone. Meanwhile, I'd been quietly sending my own blooper reel to a few media outlets, anonymously, of course, labeling it as ethically sourced whistleblower content. A few podcasts picked it up, used it as a case study in performative authenticity and emotional branding. Claire's name trended, not in the way she wanted. Maya? She filed for divorce and got 60/40 custody. Also filed a workplace misconduct complaint against Julian, citing inappropriate workplace relationships involving family conflict of interest. Turns out Julian had been recommending Claire's podcast during company meetings. Said it was an example of thought leadership. That didn't age well. Now for the real twist. Ready? Claire reached out. 10 days after the stream bombed. 2 days after her sponsors dropped. The night before Maya's lawyer was set to depose Julian. She knocked on my door. We still lived together, technically. She'd just moved into the guest room. But this wasn't a house call. This was theater. She was crying. Hoodie, no makeup. Holding her phone like a peace offering. I made a mistake, she whispered. I was scared. I felt unseen. Julian, he was just. Don't, I cut in. Don't make this poetic. I thought you loved me. I did. She winced. I just need you to say one thing, she said. I waited. Tell me I'm not a bad person. That's the problem, isn't it? People like Claire don't think cheating makes them bad. They think it makes them broken, misunderstood, complicated. But me? I see it differently. You're not a bad person, I said. She exhaled, started to smile. You're worse, I added. Then I shut the door. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. Claire's brand, shredded though it was, still had a skeleton crew of diehard fans. People who said things like, we all make mistakes, and this is a chance for growth. People who wrote essays in her comments section like it was a group therapy session. Somehow, even after the sponsor apocalypse, she still had clout, enough to try a comeback. That's when the Reset podcast launched. Same pastel logo, same soft-spoken intro music. But now, instead of interviewing founders and tech bros with espresso addictions, Claire pivoted to vulnerability storytelling. Each week, she invited guests who had fallen from grace. Influencers with apology videos, CEOs ousted in scandals, the occasional Instagram life coach who used to be a felon. It was self-help meets damage control. And it almost worked. She racked up a few interviews that hit mid-tier charts. Spotify pushed her under mental wellness. One of her reels went low-key viral after a TikTok creator stitched it with "This is what accountability looks like." I'll admit, I was impressed. It's one thing to fail. It's another to fail forward. But Claire didn't know one thing. I still had all the raw files. All of them. See, while she was busy giving tearful confessions to ex-reality TV contestants, I was quietly feeding snippets to a parody account. Anonymous, of course. I'd cut her voice into sound bites just subtle enough to sound like satire. Sometimes when I cheat, I cry harder than my husband. Gaslighting isn't real if it comes from a place of insecurity. Forgiveness is just control wearing a yoga outfit. People thought it was AI generated. The comments were a mix of "no way this is real" and "Claire is cooked." And then the worst happened. Julian came back. Not in person. He didn't have the guts for that. But digitally. He posted a Medium piece titled, "When Private Lives Get Public," and framed the whole thing like he was the victim. "I was manipulated into proximity," he wrote. "I never intended to harm anyone." "Oh, please." Claire posted a follow-up video. Dim lighting, teary face, lavender hoodie. "Sometimes, people weaponize your pain to write their own narrative." Bingo. I clipped that line and sent it to Maya. She responded with a single emoji, kitchen knife. A week later, Julian's Medium profile vanished. Maya's lawyer had sent a cease and desist, claimed emotional distress and reputational harm. But that wasn't the big twist. Here's where it gets cinematic. Claire announced a live event. The Reset Experience, a one-night, ticketed show in downtown LA, part podcast, part healing circle, all truth. She rented a minimalist venue with velvet seating and lavender mocktails. Invited influencers, journos, sponsors, and yes, me. Said it would be a safe space for redemption. She didn't know I RSVP'd under a fake name. Didn't know I had an air-gapped laptop with a 12-minute video montage of behind-the-scenes clips. Snippets from her private episodes where she bragged about Julian. A few flirty voice memos she sent him by accident and later deleted, except not from my backup. And the finale? A shot of her saying, "It's not cheating if it's with someone who sees the real me." That line became my nuke. The event started normal. Everyone got seated. Candles flickered. A harpist played lo-fi background music. Claire walked on stage like she was Oprah reborn. Smiled through the tension. Cried once, lightly, tastefully. Then came the Q&A. That was my cue. I stood up. "I've got something I think the audience would love," I said. She froze. Security looked over. "I used to be her editor," I added. "And I've got one last clip you forgot to run." I pulled the thumb drive from my jacket pocket and handed it to the AV guy before she could say a word. He plugged it in. It started to play. Laughter. Flirting. Soft babe slips. That last line, the one about being seen, boomed through the speakers. Silence. Then murmurs. Phones came out. A few people left. Someone gasped. I think it was the girl sitting behind me, holding a notebook labeled Claire's Wisdom. Claire stood there, still as stone. Eyes wide. No tears this time. The audio stopped, and I raised a glass. "To authenticity," I said. Then I walked out. She kept saying it was just a birthday Q&A. Some sweet little love letter to the fans. That's what she called it. Said she wanted to celebrate how far her show had come in 2 years. Thank them for believing in her. Said she didn't want me doing too much, just setting up the usual audio chain and keeping it clean. Sure thing, babe. Wouldn't want to overstep. What she didn't know was that the video stream she thought she was prepping for wasn't going to her usual OBS file path. I rerouted it. She thought it was going out to her livestream dashboard. It was actually uploading directly through my YouTube overlay, same account I used to host her emergency backup episodes when her laptop crashed in Cabo. She never changed the password. Big mistake. At 7:56 p.m., I stood at the back of our little home studio, arms folded, listening to her thank every single one of you amazing, amazing people, while sipping Prosecco from a rose gold tumbler with her name on it. Her cheeks were flushed. She was glowing. A dozen sponsors had reposted her flyer. She was already tagging Bose and Athleta in her pinned comments. I saw the brand manager for a supplement company send heart emojis in the chat. She thought the live was going perfectly. Then, right around the 15-minute mark, she asked me to queue up the fan-submitted questions. Said we'd go into deep, personal territory, because her audience deserved realness. That's when I hit the button. Boom. Scene cut. The video jumped to a new screen, a slate that said "Behind the Mic," uncut, in bright white text. Soft instrumental music played for 5 seconds, just long enough for the chat to erupt in confused emojis. Then the first clip started rolling. Her voice, soft and girlish. "Stop making me laugh like that. You're going to ruin the take." "Him. You started it, babe." Static. Then a hard cut to another clip. Her again, giggling. "We shouldn't keep meeting like this. I'm supposed to be the professional one." Another cut. This time her eyes were visible. She'd left the webcam running during a mic check. She was twirling her hair, biting her lip. "You looked so good in that stupid plaid shirt today, by the way." The chat went nuclear. Some fans thought it was a joke. Some begged her to stop. One said, "Is this your husband editing this live?" "Oh yes. Yes it was." Clip after clip played. Her cutting out his laughter and redoing lines. Her soft voice. Him calling her my muse. Her whispering, "Don't say that on air. People will figure it out." And then the kicker. A raw audio file from 2 months ago, never meant to be saved. She was laughing at one of his stories. He joked about staying over too late. She sighed and said, clear as day, "Well, you can just come home with me again, babe." Silence followed. I let the screen fade to black. Then one final image appeared. A text screen. White font. One sentence. To my sister. Ask your husband why he was gone every Tuesday night. And that was it. I ended the stream. Her face was pale. She didn't say a word. Her eyes were glassy, blinking fast like she was trying to reboot her personality mid-crash. Then her phone started vibrating. First one buzz. Then 5. Then a call. Her mom. Another call. One from the married podcast guest. One from my sister. I walked out of the room. She followed me like a ghost. "What did you do?" I didn't answer. I went to the fridge. Poured myself a glass of orange juice. She stood in the doorway like she didn't recognize the walls anymore. "You ruined my career." I took a sip. I didn't record those clips. I just cleaned them up. She stared. Then finally, "You think this is funny?" I shrugged. "Not funny. Just well-produced." Next day, for sponsors dropped her. The supplement brand issued a vague statement about conduct unbecoming. Her fan subreddit deleted itself overnight. And the podcast guest? Turns out, my sister found out before I even had to explain. She was already suspicious. The Tuesday night dinners, the whispering, the podcast credits that never included her name, even though she helped launch the guest YouTube show. She filed for separation. Sent her own clip to his boss. HR flagged it instantly. Meanwhile, I got a small contract editing podcast episodes for a startup audio label in Portland. They liked my audio storytelling. Said it was emotionally efficient. Guess that's one way to put it. As for my wife, I mean my ex, she tried to rebrand. Changed the podcast name. Deleted all comments. Claimed the live stream was a deep fake. That was a fun week. Didn't matter. The internet never forgets. Now she records voiceovers for a wellness app in exchange for affiliate links. And me? Let's just say I upgraded the mic. And this time, I kept the raw files. Subscribe to the channel